Hey, another week.
Yes.
How are you? I know these clothes are just getting tighter and tighter, but
that's so cute.
we're
I
still
love
here.
this new hoodie.
Thank
with
you,
the
girl. Look at you
blue.
on FrignoFit.com.
Hey.
Hey. My husband's like, let's get away from the green. Let's do blue to neutralize it because, Ferrigno associates with Hulk, and we're trying to get out of that. We're trying to bring more like the feminine.
More than just the Hulk.
Yeah, we're getting more feminine estrogen in because people of all sizes and shapes and, sexes need fitness advice.
Big time.
Mental and physical. So,
Yes.
yeah, don't just give it to the Hulk fans here. But on that note, it takes a lot of energy. But
yes, energy.
So we're talking about energy today.
We are.
And I have a lot to say about energy.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot to be said about it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how are you feeling right now? Where are you energy-wise?
I hate complaining about not having energy because I think energy is one of the sexiest things anybody can ever have. Like, it's so infectious to me. I think, me personally, I think the most successful people have energy.
Like presence.
Presence and energy where you just have like, you're up, you're at it, you're excited about life. Like, you make any conversation interesting because you're engaged with the energy that you're bringing. Sure. And it must be really hard, to have energy all the time. Like, I look at politicians, I'm like, how do they do that? Just being on all the time, but they bring it.
Yeah.
But I think it's a tool that you have to use
and develop
and stay consistent with because you'll burn out if not.
Well, how is your energy with being preggo?
I can't breathe, which affects me. And I've been talking about it a lot, and we'll talk about eating, but, I've been eating well. However, I just feel like if you eat crap, your energy is not going to be where it needs to be, and I just don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're really, really heavy, I don't know how people have energy. And usually you don't. Everybody out there, you can tell me if you're really obese and you have a lot of energy. That's why I hope people do want to get methods of losing weight. Sure. Because I don't think you have your optimal energy when you're that heavy because it's hard to breathe. It's hard to walk around. It's hard to stay consistent, So right now the energy is, I'm definitely leaning into having a lot less of it. And I respect my body.
Yes. Well, because right now it's not
listen to you.
Hormones.
Put your feet up, Shanna. Okay, got it. Yeah. Hormones.
Yeah.
They're on my organs, can't breathe. But
your body is not yours right now.
No, it's a vessel. But I'm trying to rest, but rest is important. We talk about that and just rest and so you can have the flow back.
Yeah. I mean, let's start with what energy is. It's kind of like your, for all intents and purposes, your life force, right? Mm-hmm. And when we started talking about this, right away, what came to mind was, and I know you remember who this is.
Oh, here we go.
Larry Kornfeld.
Oh, Lord.
Larry Kornfeld was our dramatic. Alive? Yes.
Okay.
He is.
God bless you, Larry Kornfeld.
Yeah, he's on Facebook.
He's like 90 on Facebook. God bless him.
He is.
Good for him.
Bananas. But he was our dramatic studies teacher in college. We went to conservatory acting, and he actually was one of the directors of the Pioneer Living Theater in New York. I mean, he if you look at certain playbooks and all that kind of stuff, you'll see he's one of the original directors. It'll always say Larry Kornfeld in the back right there. So he's fancy, he's impressive, all those things, but we got him when he was a little older. Mm-hmm. But one of the gems that he gave us when in school was the bathtub.
Oh, I don't remember that.
He did give you guys the bathtub?
I got to be honest. He directed a play that I wasn't the lead in. So I would go to the gym all the time and I left because I had no part. And then that's where I met my ex at the time.
Oh,
so
yeah. Superman, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So then I didn't pay attention to Larry Kornfeld. But no, tell me about the bath.
Fair. Did he teach you guys dramatic studies?
No.
Or was he on a hiatus?
I think he was on hiatus. But I had him for the play barely. But
all right. Well, let me tell you about Larry. Because we had Larry and there's a lot to be said about him, but I'm going to talk about the bathtub and what the bathtub is for every, and this is in context of acting and creating your process and where you want to, every character that you're developing and you're trying to be and stuff like that. When you're figuring it out, they don't just walk on stage and then they magically do what they're doing and what's written. They have to come from someplace, and that's your bathtub. Did they have, and you can fill that in. How do you fill that in? Was it a bad day? Was it a bad morning? Was it let's do a famous Cat in a Hot Tin Roof. Okay. That is a wonderful play.
Tennessee Williams.
Yeah, Tennessee Williams. Mm-hmm. Holla.
Liz Taylor did the movie.
Yes,
check
Elizabeth
it out.
Taylor,
It's very good. Paul Newman.
Hot Paul Newman. And but one of the things, the gist of that is that it's a Southern, wealthy landowning family. And he is a depressed, kind of has been football player because he got hurt and, he's depressed about it. And so he's drinking too much. And the wife, Elizabeth Taylor, wants to be pregnant and, fix their marriage and all this stuff. And like all the
drama. Isn't he gay too?
No.
Okay. That was
yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Sorry.
That Tennessee Williams.
Yeah, he wanted everyone to be gay because he was gay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's her bathtub, right? But when you first see the scene, she is there. She's all dressed up, she's playing nice with her husband. But there's all this subtext. There's all this other stuff happening that you eventually learn about when you watch the film or you read the play or you watch the play. But that's her bathtub. She wants to get pregnant. They're not getting along. They're not having any intimacy. He sleeps on the couch. She sleeps in the bed. Like, you know what I mean? She's trying to hide all that information from the rest of the house. Like, that's your bathtub. So when you apply something like that to everyday life, like, this morning, like one of my cats escaped last night. I'm really like anxious and worried and concerned about it. And I'm just hoping, because she's the smartest of the cats, that she'll find her way back and her head will just pop in the window and we'll let her in. Yeah. And I know it kind of comes along with having a cat. Anywho. But that's
affects your energy.
Yeah. And so today that's part of what, this morning is before we're doing our podcast. So I'm concerned, the baby slept menza last night. And so he's, a little fuss, but he's adorable. And you know what I mean? But that's my bathtub right now. House is a bit messy, which is perpetual with kids. So
yeah.
But it is what it is. It's better than other days. So there I am. But that's what I'm bringing here. But I'm not it's not affecting.
How have you learned to balance that? Because all of this could. So I know a lot of people that like things like this, even just your cat alone, like hopefully it'll come back, but you don't know. You could go to worst case scenario, which affects your energy because you're in your head all the time thinking about the worst case scenario.
Yeah, because your brain is someplace else, right?
So you could have canceled us filming this today. Sure. You could have been like, I can't do it.
I gotta search for my cat. Yeah.
Right. Or anything. Didn't have good sleep and making excuses. So how do you balance that with your energy? Do you have you learned to compartmentalize it? Kind of like the bathtub? Do you just throw some stuff on the side and say, I don't want that rubber duck in my bathtub right now. I'll bring it back in later. Like,
it's a little bit of all of that, right? You do, as you get older, learn how to compartmentalize. That's just life. But then also, I started meditating, a couple years ago, and that's really truly helped me to kind of. In therapy, they call it detachment. And you just and by that, they mean you can step away and kind of look at it from an outside perspective. So you're not just consumed. You can kind of help yourself to see the forest from the trees, Doesn't mean I'm less anxious or whatever, but I'm not as reactive. I'm more responsive, which is a more positive way to
That's a
deal
huge
with
one.
stuff, right?
Responsive, not reactive.
Yeah, that's better vocabulary. So doesn't mean I'm not thinking about her or gonna have plans to deal with that, but it's just a matter of,
Bring
how you deal with life.
those.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if I still had to go to work, go to, when you have to do things, you have to just, when they say leave it at the door, leave your stuff at the door because you have to do this. You have to find ways of doing that. And what I do is meditation has really helped me.
That's a good one.
What do you do?
I do not meditate. My husband asks me to meditate every single day. He's like, you really should try. There's different things. He's like, you should try.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was funny because we talked in, there's an episode we're answering questions about cleaning is my meditation. Sometimes he's like, you're wrapped up in your intensity right here. And I'm like, but it's good. I leave everybody alone, but I have to clean. I have to make things. I have to have some productivity that is outside of my head.
Oh, yeah.
That really helps my energy.
Yeah.
Well,
people confuse meditation of just the one, like, thing.
Right.
And that there's active meditation.
Yeah.
There's, going to the gym is a certain kind of meditation.
Absolutely.
Listening to music and just on the, dude, me too.
I know.
My cousin, she's super duper OCD. So and she is like a full household. So when she can't, she'll shut everybody off, like in her mind, and just start going ham on her house and cleaning.
I love it.
Like
That's
she
my
has
thing.
the most amazing collection of cleaning products. I'm like, where do you find these things? She goes, Vanessa.
I know. I walked in here and Malcolm was like, "It smells like vinegar. It's just a vinegar." I was like, "Oh, I love that smell. I love cleaning with vinegar. I love vinegar." It's just like,
Windex just came out with like Windex with vinegar. I was like, brilliant.
Love myself some vinegar. Yeah. No, but okay. So now this is another thing. So we were just talking about how to, compartmentalize and have good energy and put it into things. Now, even on the way here, I find myself sometimes going in that dark rabbit hole of like, it's so easy to just take one little thing when you look at yourself later on and you're like, really? Was that such a big deal? But to me, it is. I'm a very emotional person. To me, it is in the moment.
Yeah.
However, to not get down that rabbit hole, I've learned how to pick myself back up and think of positive things, right?
Right.
So, but there's people out there that we have to deal with every single day that we're not there to coach and teach. Whoever wants to listen to this, we're not experts at anything. We're just talking about what we do for ourselves. However, looking through the web and a bunch of experts on the web, I want to ask you, what do you do with people's energy that come in and they're right fighters? Like, those people that
always have to be right.
And no matter what you say, you can just be like, well, this is the way it's got to go. And it's like, but you're miserable. And I'm giving you, maybe you asked me, so you're an asshole. Right. You're asking me and being an asshole by not listening to any of it. So why ask me? Why ask me, Vanessa?
I love that asshole.
Yeah, asshole.
So
but what do you do with right fighters? What would you, someone just wants to be right.
So I've learned, because before young me would want to be right too then, and then be like, oh, you want to play the right game?
Right.
I
can write the wrong out of you. Yeah.
And I've, you get bit by that. That's just, there's no winning there
Draining.
at all. It's so much energy. But since then I have learned that, not my circus, not my monkeys.
I love that.
And as the more comfortable you get to be with who you are, accept where, and be more present in your space and your day and, your moment, then if somebody comes in hot, you could be like, just again, watch, look, and be like, okay, well, not my circus, not my monkeys. Let's get to the task at hand. Be like, oh my gosh, you could address it. You could just be like, ooh, you must be having a rough day.
Yeah.
And then just be like, I'm so sorry. Are you good? Can we do this now?
Right.
Or do you need to express?
That's a good one.
And then you let them vent or, what have you. But it's good to, you address it. You don't ignore it.
Right.
Because
it's inauthentic power.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Where people are like, I'm going to get power from being right. However, when you're unassuming, that's when you really have power. You know what I mean? People that are really just filled within themselves that don't have to prove. Because sometimes I talk to just the most brilliant people. They're very unassuming.
Yeah.
And then I'll ask them a question and the things that come out of their mouth. And I was like, why didn't you offer that before? And they were like, well, you didn't ask me. Right.
Malcolm is king of
Right. Yeah, I love it.
It's so good. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, you didn't ask. And it's like, but
not that he doesn't say or whatever, but it's just like you're not going to just volunteer and talk to talk. That's also another.
But that's why Malcolm and other people like that, my husband's like this, where they know so much because they're listening and they're learning, you know what I mean? As opposed to just talking nonstop to project their power on people. So that's great advice. I do that too. When people, I'm just like, is that working for you? Okay, now let's shift. Let's go do something creative while we're here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also do that. The next one is people that tell negative stories over and over and over again. What do you do about that? I know a girl like this and love her, but
I have to say, I'm guilty of that in a way.
I am too.
And it's funny because, when you work a lot and especially in production and stuff, and you're I'm a fixer, in essence, I would come home and just to vent the day or whatever, I would complain. And by complain, be like, talk about, well, she did this and this, and it was just all negative, negative, negative and bad, instead of saying, yeah, it was a tough day. Because that's just what the job is. It is what it is. You know, at any part of job, there's a whole lot of, especially in production, there's a lot of just people management. How do you deal with all the different personalities? So, you kind of, I had to see that though. I mean, and it was Malcolm who was like, do you notice that you do this?
Good to have that person.
Yes, exactly. Because sometimes you just don't see it. And I went, oh.
We have people that feed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
or they
too.
like it.
But you have to be able to see that, acknowledge it, and go, oh, that sucks. And then when I started to see it, I stopped, cut it off. It takes some work, you know?
Yeah. Because then I build myself up.
And then
that person's at home not giving a shit about us.
Yeah.
And we're building ourselves up. And I'm just
it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
So when you stop doing that and you just go, all right, let me leave that at the door. I'm home now. Let me be present with home. And I'm happy to be home. And I'm grateful for my home and my life and blah. Then that doesn't take as much power over you and stuff. And then it switches the energy, you know?
And it's self-talk. It's like, I have so many, like I know people that, and it's so valid, but they have so many health issues. And some of them I will look at and I'm like, well, you haven't taken my advice about the things you eat. And you did come to me. I don't give unsolicited advice when I don't have to.
Great.
But sometimes people do have MS or other things. However, you can, and that's a real thing physically, but mentally, instead of saying, oh, I have so many health issues, I have to do, like, you can just say, I need my body to heal right now. I'm going to be working on my body healing. So that's a much more positive tone to come in and say healing, as opposed to it's breaking down, it's falling apart. Because if your mind keeps going in this negative spectrum of saying I'm deteriorating, your body's going to follow. You know, there's a lot of people where you're like, wow, I know two people that have MS. I look at one of them who's so positive, and, you know, I'm not saying it's definitely their mind, but it gets them to get out of that wheelchair more. It gets them to move their body, and just their spirit and their energy is
you gotta want to.
Yes. And you can see the want, you know, and their body is reacting to it, as opposed to someone that is a little healthier with MS, and you can see how they're deteriorating, the way they eat, all of that. So, and their energy is awful, and then no one wants to be around them because they're living in this, which it's okay to do when you're diagnosed, but not forever.
You can be sad and depressed.
Absolutely. But compartmentalize those days. You know what I mean? That's what I would say with anything.
Yeah. I guess what I'm getting from this is, you know, you have to kind of, and this is from learning, getting older, obviously, you got to look at yourself first, right? And see what you're doing.
That's the next one.
Because you can control you.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but what do you think about seeking answers outside of yourself? So that's what we were just saying.
Right.
So many people will be like, I'm going to go to, there's a lot of them, Landmark, which I'm not shitting on any of these places.
Landmark.
So Landmark is a group, is an organization where you go and it applies tools and methods to help you do positive thinking. I know a lot of people in Landmark, it's a group. Some people will call it a cult. It's not there, I don't think, but I can't speak for some people that have been in it that do call it a cult.
Yeah.
However, I really have seen some people come out of that with really great positive thinking afterward.
Wonderful.
Which is great. You take classes, and listen, I'm all for that. Even some cults, I don't think cults start off being a negative thing. I think they really start off with wanting hope, help, enlightenment. Yeah. And then it turns into what it does.
Something else, right.
Right. But when saying that, seeking answers outside of yourself, that's why with cults sometimes I will look at them and I'm like, these people are so lost, and they're looking at one human or two humans that they're looking at as God that knows more, and then they lose themselves more, and then get in the spin of this crazy cycle that happens, and then ends up killing themselves or drinking the Kool-Aid. But I think it's important to have what you were just saying, to have some sense of self to start with, instead of seeking out and then getting lost, because that energy can just get dissipated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You do seek answers outside yourself because you're asking for help in essence, right? But you can't forget your part in it. You can't, it's almost like blaming somebody else because you can never be wrong.
Exactly.
You got to look at some accountability too in that thing, you know, and that's hard. I get that, you know, to say, oh yeah, man, I fucked up.
Or no kidding.
This is what I do. Trust me. I do that a lot. But you have to. It's just part and parcel of getting better, just trying to be a better person and work better for yourself.
And then for the last one, that I've researched, what do you think about people that just have emotions in that moment that are beyond out of control? What do you do? Like if you're on set and you have someone like screaming and going insane, or just someone at that moment. Because a lot of times people will fight back. They'll be like, shut the F up. You know what I mean? Like, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm watching this like a car, and I'm like, what is this doing? Like, this is just, or when you fight with your mate or whatever. I know my husband and I will come in hot. We both come in really hot. And so I learned in therapy, honey, I think he'd still say I'm still learning it, but to stay in my window because I'm a very emotional person. I'm Italian. So like my husband will be like, oh wow. Or people will be like, oh, Italians. Oh my God. And they'll be like, that woman's aggressive. I'm like, I don't think that woman's aggressive. I think that woman's Italian. I think that woman's just passionate. I don't think that's negative. You know what I mean? I think when you start cussing and getting out of control, that's aggression. Right. But if you're just expressing, I don't think that's aggressive. I think it'd be passionate. Right. However, staying in your window, I'm learning if you get out of your window with two people fighting,
explain the window again.
So if you're coming in hot, right, and your emotions are all over the place and you're screaming at each other, what is that going to do? You have to take a moment, come back, and stay in a window of sorts where both of you can be in this window as opposed to exploding your emotions everywhere. So
you're staying in a place where you can communicate with each other respectfully.
Right. Where it's a window. So it's a gauge of sorts where I'm just kind of like.
But it takes two. It can't just be one person.
It takes two to be in the window. Okay. Yeah. It's like you're both in windows. Okay. It's like you're confined of sorts. Sure. But you're looking at each other and going, okay, once we raise our tone and our levels and our energy is dissipated, and instead of focused on one another, then there's no point. You're out of your window and you're out of your space. You're out of the element. You might as well go take a walk for 15 minutes to come back. You know what I mean? I think taking a walk.
A good friend of ours says, take a lap. Go take a lap.
Go take a lap. Go take a nap. Go take a lap. Go do something. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a big one too for energy, because I just see so many people fighting themselves, fighting other people. And I'm like, it's dissipated energy. What are you doing with it? And then they're like, I can't create. I can't do this. And then they're victim to why they're not successful, why they're not doing more with their lives. And I'm like, you just spent an hour and a half bitching, complaining, and doing, when you could have just put it into the text, put it into the work. You know what I mean? Like, put it in. Yeah. So, yeah. And then, So
I think there's some self, modulation that you have to have. You got to practice that. You got to be able to check yourself. Be like,
because then it'll happen with anybody.
Yeah. And it's good to be like, look, I'm here right now. Yeah. So excuse me if I'm coming off a little hot, I'm coming off a little aggressive, or I'm coming off a little, or, hey, I'm just, I'm having a funky day today. So excuse me if I'm like looking weird. You can call it.
I always call it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't always call it, but it'll take a minute for me to be like, I guess I'm having a weird day, and don't feel bad about it. You don't
have to over explain yourself either.
No.
Yeah. So with that, I think some tips that I want to put in out there, where this is really a lot of like working on yourself and bigger steps. However, I think there's small steps too, right? Yes. To just get energy right away. To just jumpstart your energy with health, nutrition, taking the laps. But
sometimes you just need to eat. You can get hangry.
There you go. Eating is one of them. And I think putting a protein with the carbohydrates really important. I see people snacking on bags of chips and stuff, but I think it's important, like have an apple with some almond butter or some peanut butter so that you can have the carbs to keep the energy going, but the protein to not get you hungry. Yeah. Because when you have too many carbs, right, it spikes up with your insulin level. It's sugar.
Just and imagine then it goes a kid back with down. Too much ice cream and they're like,
exactly. It spikes, it goes down, and then you need the protein to get you back up to that level. Yes. So it's a good balance. Yes. And then also, I'm sorry, but energy drinks need to be thrown away and like taken out of the market completely. I don't know what FDA they paid off to, or everybody hires their own scientists. I don't know if you know this, but they hire their own scientists and then they're approved by the FDA. I'm like, no, you paid for that to be approved. People don't know that. I write about that a lot. But substitute it with coffee and water, because at least coffee is natural, or yerba mate is a great one. That's a higher.
Yes, the matcha stuff.
Yes. And like balance it with water.
Yeah.
It's very simple tools and tricks, but people just don't want to hear it. So try to listen if your energy is low.
Yeah.
I think posture is a big one too.
Oh, yes.
Sitting up, thinking like what you can do, like rolling your neck. I think that's an instant energy booster.
Yes.
And then what do you think about, okay, you've said this many times that you're so overwhelmed, like everything you have going on. Like sometimes I am too, where I'm just like, I want to take a nap.
Yeah. Haven't you had a moment wherever there's so much to do, you're so overwhelmed that you either want to nap or you just don't do any of it because you're so overwhelmed, you just want to sit down and kind of like zonk out on your phone or watch TV?
But you know what? I think that's okay for 15 to 20 minutes. Allow yourself to do that if you really are. And when you wake up, have a goal. Say, I'm going to accomplish one thing. And also, we talked about this last season as well. Yeah. Writing lists.
That's what I was about to say. So what I'll do is I'll take the moment. I'll write lists. I'll be kind to myself. And if I accomplish 2 out of the 5.
Awesome.
3 out of the 5. Then I'm like, then you did good.
Yeah.
You did good.
Absolutely.
Don't look at what's working. Not what's not working.
That.
And I have had to, especially since having a baby, adjust my time frames in terms of accomplishing stuff. Instead of it taking a couple hours, now it takes, honestly, a couple of weeks. But that's what it takes.
I'm prepping.
So
and that's what it takes.
It is what it is. And that's all right.
And you're not curing cancer. You know what I mean? No, but you have to keeping your child healthy, alive, all that. It another day will be okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just another day. Yeah. And then, this is an interesting thing. Singing out loud, like in the morning, it helps with your breath work. We took breath in school. Yes. Singing and like find a song that you really like to get your energy going in the morning.
I love listening to music, obviously.
During the day.
Yeah, the baby loves it too. So when I feed him, I'll just play like randomly. He loves Hall & Oates, so I'll have
always a good time.
Easy listening right there.
I love it.
I thought it was so cool yesterday. Malcolm started doing a speech warm up.
Love it.
And it felt so great to hear. And it's a speech warm up is when you can exercise your mouth really to say sounds.
Peter Piper, like that. Pepper picker.
Or,
give me the gift of a grip top sock. I'm not even going to go into that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but even just basic sounds.
But your mouth moves.
Golf.
Yeah.
You're saying,
how now, brown cow?
Yeah, like all that.
Why? What would you? Right?
It's really
Mark's laughing in the back. I do this all day.
Man, years and years and years. Yeah. You will never lose it. Anybody who's been through it goes, oh yeah.
All day.
But it feels great. It felt like a coming home kind of and it's just a supportive thing, and it was really nice here, and it was great. It's great for the baby right now who's learning how to talk. He's babbling a lot, so I was like, "Ooh, this is good for you to absorb."
I love it.
Yeah, but these are cool.
But that's
things.
Memories that we have that are like fun and good. So like if you have a favorite song growing up as a kid, dance to that. Take the 3 minutes of time and just like bust your butt to it. Walk around the block. After a long day of sitting down at work or any of it, just move. Yeah. Just move. Give yourself 15 minutes, put the timer and let it go. Yeah. So, yeah.
Do some social dancing.
Do it for us who want you to have good energy as well. Like your energy is out there to the universe. Yes. You know what I mean? And think about what it would be like if you had a camera following you all day. Really check yourself and be like, I always say too, don't let your mood dictate your manners. I have to work. That's my mantra daily. Because when I see somebody and I'm like, I'm like, okay, my mood is not great. I'm not going to let it dictate how rude I am to that person. Like they're going through something too. They're just an idiot. But it's okay. I won't be rude.
And when that sometimes you are rude, and that's just that moment. It doesn't make you a rude person. That was just a rude thing you did. You can separate the two.
But the reactiveness. But then you
apologize. Yeah.
Try not to be reactive. So so those are tips. What do you think? Yeah, I think
those are great.
Me too. So even if you start with 1, 2 of them, and we're gonna talk about a lot of other things this season too, about just like a lot of things. So. Yeah, but this is energy. Just get the flow and have it. Have it. It's sexy. Raw talk.